Hey everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to be demonstrating the blob to blocks project. I basically already demonstrated it in the announcement video, but I didn't really show much variety in that. I just did one example and then kind of just left you hanging. So I'm going to show a few more examples with more variety to give you, a few more solutions to some of the ones you might be struggling with. So the first one I'm going to start with is just proportional differences. If I do a blob like this, you kind of naturally think like, oh, it's just a long box, but it doesn't have to be a long box. It could be actually a flat box. You could say that right in here is an entire plane, and then all of this is just really skinny and flat. It's not a shoebox. It's more of a sketchbook. I don't know. Here's one plane, and then I'll say maybe this is where I'm starting to get a little bit more clear about the box that I'm drawing. So let's say that the corner, I want to put the corner right there. That would mean that I'm seeing a little bit of this. So I have to converge these this way and these this way. So there's my top plane. And there's that. One of the side planes, and here's the other one. And there you go, there's my flat box. Now I could have done that same blob as a different box. That's why every step reveals a little bit more of something about that box. It's not like the blob has only one box that it could fit into. Like, let's just do another one. So here's the same blob. And now I could say, well, instead of indicating that big flat plane, now instead I'm gonna say, well, let's indicate this plane. Let's say we're seeing the bottom, and then we're gonna indicate this much of a twist. So now the box that would fit in here is very different from this box, even though the blob was almost the same thing. All right, so this is more of a shoebox, and this is more of a sketchbook. So what I mean by that is not every blob has to be, an oval, an ellipse. You can start with a shape that is closer to representing an actual box. Let's say I have a lot of foreshortening, like I have a box that's going away from us. Instead of doing this, what I could do is start with a blob that's like skinny up there and gets bigger, right? And so that is already indicating depth going this way. And so it becomes a lot easier for me to imagine a box there. And then I'm like, okay, well, then let's say there's a plane right here. It's facing us. And then let's rotate it. So let's put a little edge right here. And I got my convergence figured out already based on the blob. And there's something off with this front plane a little bit. Let me see. Nah, it's fine. It's close enough. So that is a box that is very, very foreshortened. It's coming almost right at us. And you got extreme foreshortening. So this box is very long. And I was showing you an extreme example. You obviously don't have to converge it that much. It's just that you don't have to start with an ellipse. You can start with an edge that has a straight line from the beginning. Say my blob is like this, and showing a little bit of convergence here, and then kind of figure out something here, and then say, okay, I'm gonna cap this thing off, and then we're seeing more maybe of this plane. And there's my box with subtle convergence going this way. All right, so what have we covered so far? I covered proportions of the box. I did convergence, showing that the thickness getting smaller as we go. Let me say one more thing about foreshortening. So all of these so far, you can see a lot of each of the three planes. But if you want to foreshorten one a lot, where you can barely see a plane, this is actually really useful because it's pretty difficult to start with your lines when you have to convert or when you have to foreshorten a plane a lot. But let's say you have a blob and I want only a really skinny piece of this right here to be visible. I'm like, oh, this is super foreshortened over here. I could start right away by just putting that edge there. Then I get to decide, is this going to be like 1 point perspective or 2 or 3? Am I going to see one of these caps at all? Let's say yes. Let's say we could see this side a little bit. We're just going to put a little cap there. And now we just finish the other planes, thinking about, obviously, the 3 sets of axes. And now this plane is much skinnier and is exactly how I intended it. So now let's talk a little bit about overlap and diminution. So it gets harder as you start putting more than one box in space, if I have multiple boxes interacting with each other. But the great thing is that I can figure out that interaction with blobs first. So let's say I have a blob like this, and then another blob back here behind this one. This overlap shows that this one is behind this one. And I'm also going to make it a little bit smaller. So as they go back, they get smaller. That's diminution. Let's put another one back here. So already we have depth. We've created depth with just the blobs, and now we can turn each of these into a box and have even more depth. I kind of want to think about the flow of this, right? The flow is this way. We've created gesture with just the way we've placed these blobs. And so let's say I want to make that flow work with the gesture that I've already created. So I'm going to indicate an edge here. And that edge goes with this flow. And I don't have to. I mean, you can twist this any way you want, but I'm just thinking about the composition as well, just because I'm choosing to. Okay, so there's that box. Now this one, I'm gonna say, has a cap right here. And the edge right there, or no, let's actually have the bottom be visible. So I'm gonna put the edge right there, so there's a plane over here. And these don't have to be the same box going back. Like this one I'm gonna make much taller. This one's kind of short, this one's real thick. Unless I'm drawing something specific like a person. If this was a pelvis, a rib cage, and a head, then yes, I would be thinking about the relationship of the height to width and all that, but right now I'm not. Right now I'm just showing you diminution and overlap between 3 random boxes. A little bit of ghosting. I'd like to imagine where this would meet so that I could then pull this edge this way, but very light in here. You can probably barely see it on the camera. I always like to make sure my line weight is indicating the depth correctly. Like this was starting to look like it's behind this one based on the line weight, because these lines were just getting so heavy. So pushing this line thicker suddenly just pops that forward. You don't have to do the entire thing, but like that one that is overlapping these, by making that one darker and maybe like this one a little bit darker, that instantly pushes that forward. And then this one, let's have it follow that rhythm as well. And then show a little bit of a top plane over here. And as I do these, as I get warmed up, it just becomes easier and easier. I hate that tangency there. This just moves perfectly into this one. Oh, I think I dislike that enough to actually change it. Tangent. I'm gonna move that up a little bit so that this corner does not line up perfectly with this edge. Cool, so now you have 3 boxes in space. They're following this rhythm. They're overlapping, so clearly showing one is behind another one. They're getting smaller, which exaggerates that effect even more. And if I wanted to make that even more exaggerated, I could push the convergence of each box a little bit more. Like you can see that this box converges a little bit, like down in here, but it's very subtle. Like this is not a group of boxes that is like right in front of me. This is, you know, these boxes are 10 feet away from me. But if I wanted to really exaggerate that depth, I could push the convergence in each of these a lot more, and that would be even more dynamic, but not necessarily better. It's really just up to you to decide what works best for your picture. And the final piece of advice I'd like to give you guys, especially the level 1, is that as you do these, try to stay as close as possible to the original blob that you put in, unless you're intentionally changing it for some reason. Like you put your blob down, and then as you're doing it, you're like, oh, I actually don't like that. I want to modify it in some way. But if you're accidentally not staying true to the blob, I'm gonna consider that a mistake in the critique. So for example, if I draw a blob like this, so like I'm extending this corner out quite a bit, and then I'm like putting the edge down here, and then I got the box. Even though this box is like, okay, that's actually fine. Like I'm fine with this box, but that's not the blob that I drew. The blob in this case becomes almost pointless. Not really. I mean, if it helped me to figure out what the blob is, what it should be, then it's not totally useless, but as an exercise on its own, when you start with a blob, you convert it to a box, I want you to practice starting with a blob that is close to what you actually want, where the blob is very useful. So if you draw that blob, try to make that box fit right into it or right around it. That way you're actually practicing converting this blob to a box, not just putting some random blob and then drawing some other box. So try to do that. And I guess that's it. That's all the tips that I kind of wanted to show you to help you do your projects. The rest of it, I'm gonna help you in the critiques. So see you later.